Afternoon and welcome to my channel. This is going to be a general reading for sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant. It's going to be a general reading, so if you're here specifically for a love reading or a career reading or whatever, I'm not going to know what it actually is until the cards hit the table. I'll try and give some indication in the title as to the nature of the reading. If the message in the video doesn't resonate, don't try and make it fit. There are thousands of really awesome readers on YouTube, and one of those might be resonating with your energy a little more than I am. There are a lot of people on the planet, and cannot resonate with them all at the same time. So that said, if you're finding that a message isn't resonating, then try watching the videos for your moon sign and your rising sign, because sometimes we align with those a little more than we do with our sun sign at various points in our lives, depending on what's going on. So yeah, that's about it. If you want to book a private reading, my email address is in the description box below. Get in touch, we can schedule something. I am building a website, but it's taking a little bit of time and it's not live yet, so once that's up and running you'll be able to book directly through that, and that'll be a lot easier. Yeah, that's it. I think that's everything. So without any ado, let's get on with this reading. I'll pull 3 cards. Rather than doing like a week by week for the month, I'm just going to try and hone in on a particular situation that may use up your mental resources and energy over the month of July. It seems to be working quite well for me as a framework to do the readings in. So I'm going to pull 3 cards, and then we'll pull some clarifiers and try and get to the crux of the situation. So Virgo. Kind of mashed those a little bit, so I'm not going to say that. When the card's meant to come out, it'll fly. Okay, so the first card we've got is the King of Cups. There he is. Could be Cancer, Pisces or Scorpio, not necessarily. Another card. Virgo. Second card out is the Empress, Major Arcana. And the third card is the Nine of Pentacles. It's Earth energy, so yours, Virgo, Taurus or Capricorn. Interestingly, the shadow card at the bottom of the deck is the King of Pentacles, which is also your energy, which is good. It's the underlying theme for the reading. So now we're going to get some clarifiers and see if we can work out exactly what's going on here. So, let's clarify for the King of Cups. Judgment, Major Arcana. Emperor, Major Arcana again, card of Aries. It's quite a masculine feel for this side of the reading thus far. We'll keep going. So we need to clarify this Priestess. Why is the Priestess here for Virgo for the month of July? We've got the Five of Cups and the Ace of Wands there. And then the Nine of Pentacles. Why is the Nine of Pentacles here for Virgo? Six of Swords. Interesting. Where's the Nine of Pentacles here for Virgo? Two of Cups. This is quite a mixed bag. It's sort of all over the place. So we start with the King of Cups. The King of Cups is it's the culmination of the suit. So all of the lessons that have been learned right from the Ace of Cups through to the 10, and then through all the cards are supposedly embodied in the King. He's active where the Queen is passive, and he is completely in charge of his emotions. So he's in touch with his emotions, but he's not soft. Like, he wears them lightly. He understands his motivations for doing things when they are emotionally driven, but he doesn't let them control him. Like, I think King of Cups gets a bad rap sometimes, but it's also astrological association is Scorpio. So Virgo, if you're dealing with a Scorpio, it's a masculine energy. It doesn't have to be a man, it could be a woman. You know, the gender in tarot really is only to denote the type of energy that the card embodies, rather than saying you're going to find a bearded Scorpio man. Like, it doesn't quite work like that. So it could be Scorpio, it could be one of the other water signs. He sat there and it's like, I see all the waves are sloshing around him and there are fish knocking around and all sorts, but he sits very calm on his throne, because he knows at no point is the weight of the waves going to knock him off. He's in control. He knows the power of his emotions, and he knows that he is stronger. So this could be you, or this could be somebody that you're dealing with. The card we have to clarify is Judgment. And Judgment is, it's about second chances. Quite often it's about resurrecting something that you thought was dead. If you look in the back of this card as well, there's a big old fucking wave in the back there. I think it's actually mountains, but the first thing I thought when I saw it was a wave. Ties in quite nicely. There's a wave of emotion there. feel like this is somebody, this is either somebody from the past or this is someone that or this is you as a result of a situation from the past. But there's a level of wanting to return to something that you thought was dead here. And it's followed by the Emperor. And the Emperor is the card of Aries. He's the King of Kings. There. He is everything that all of the kings are in one man. It's kind of a bit of a control freak, I'm not going to lie. Generally speaking, I don't really like the Emperor very much. But then I've had a bit to do with Emperor type personalities in my life, and I think it's made me wary. But in a positive light, the Emperor talks about control. He's a really good strategist. You know, one does not become the Emperor by being shit at anything. Like, you don't, unless, you know, unless it's been passed down as a family title. But he's got armour on under his gown, which makes me think that he's worked his way there. He started as a king, and he has, you know, battled and vanquished his enemies, and now he sits on his throne as the ruler of all because he has demonstrated his prowess in doing so. And he's kind of looking sideways, and he's looking sideways at this card. He's looking there. So this could be an Aries who is involved, who is kind of side-eyeing this idea of bringing something back that you thought was closed and finished. Or maybe this is a part of your personality. That feels like it took quite a lot to close out that situation in the first place. And you're concerned that you'll compromise yourself by returning to it. The third card was the one that I pulled, so I wanted a bit more. It's the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is kind of Sagittarius-ish, but it can be any of the fire signs, really. It doesn't have a set association. But it's very playful. And considering that the Emperor and the Page are from the same suit, they really couldn't be more different. The Page embodies all of the playful, young, excited, naive enthusiasm for the world, and he wants to go off and he wants to explore. He wants to experience things and meet people and travel to far-flung places. And he's a messenger, he's an envoy. You know, that's his job. He travels from place to place, and in doing so, you know, he scratches that itch of naive excitement about getting out into the world. The Emperor has done all of that. The Emperor's got a big old long beard, and he's got his throne, which is hewn out of stone, and there's quite a static quality to the card. Like, he doesn't want to go off wandering, you know. It doesn't strike me that he visits the far-flung corners of his empire that often. He seems quite happy where he is, and he's an old man. Like, why would he want to travel about? And it's paired up with this. And these are conflicting. Even though they're the same suit, they're conflicting energies. You know, conflicting is the wrong word. They're at either end of a scale, shall we say. So I wonder if this is an inner conflict in you, because you have this desire to resurrect something. And I feel like it's possibly the page that wants to resurrect it. The page wants to have some fun. The page makes me think that he's directly related to the king, in so much as the page is like, look, I've got all my emotions in check, everything's sound, I can totally deal with this now. But it's the emperor who's doing all the side-eyeing, and the emperor side-eyes because the emperor likes to be in control. And if the emperor's not in control, then he's not the emperor. I think he's quite fond of being the emperor. So he's looking at this situation slightly askance. And I feel like that's a duality that's within you, Virgo, over a situation right now. And this doesn't have to be a relationship. This could be a job, or this could be a, you know, going back to some sort of club or a church, or, you know, somewhere where there are lots of people. The second card, the second of your main cards, is the Priestess. There she is. The Priestess is all-knowing. And we see how she blends into the tree. She sees, but she is not seen. She knows, but she does not tell what she knows. She's the keeper of all knowledge. Everything goes in, very little comes back out again. And she sits between the end and the beginning of everything, in that space, that fractional space between the end and the beginning. She's also the keeper of secrets, because she doesn't tell what she knows. And being a 2, she's internal. Like, it's all about what's going on in here with the High Priestess. She's sensing, she's feeling, she's intuitive. She's not communicative at all. So I feel like whatever this situation is here that you are contemplating, it exists very much only inside your head at the moment. And I think until you sort out the level of conflict that you're feeling about the situation, I think it will continue to stay in your head. Just remember that it's entirely possible to create an echo chamber of 1 when you don't share what you're thinking about with people that you trust. You know, if you don't open yourself up to the potential of other perspectives, then what you're left with is you having a thought and you agreeing with your thought, and then you going, yeah, that's cool. Whereas if you brought that thought up with a friend that you trust, they might have gone, but what about this thing? And you go, I didn't even think about that. Right? That's the danger of the echo chamber. The thing is, like, you're kind of having a thought and then you're disagreeing with it a little bit, but only a little bit, because the page is there and ready for adventure. And the Emperor hasn't moved. He hasn't issued any kind of edict yet. He's literally just looking sideways. So it's like he's just noticed something, but he hasn't actually volunteered any information yet. So this is why that strategic, logical part of your brain, the Emperor part of your brain, has obviously picked something up enough to register the fact that this might not be a terribly good idea. But you haven't necessarily entered into a full discourse about it yet. So we have the fact that this is all still very much inside your head, very internal. And then the clarifying cards that we've got are a right mixed bag. We go from the 5 to the 8 to the 10 with this. Look. We've got Five of Cups, the Ace of Wands, I've got the Ten of Wands, and it feels like, just as we had the Page and the Emperor, we've got this is a terrible idea, this is a great idea, this is a terrible idea. Well, I feel like, I'm seeing that Five of Cups there, the reason that you're even contemplating this at the moment is because you're still stuck in a state of regret. Like, I think perhaps whilst you accepted that whatever it was that you're thinking about was over and done with, there's a small tiny part of you that perhaps hopes that that isn't the case. And as a bit of time has gone by, that's magnified into a feeling of regret that's now just sitting there. Like, perhaps I didn't do the right thing. Perhaps it actually would have worked out. Perhaps it would have been okay. And then we've got the Ace of Wands. And the Aces are that spark of divine potential. The Aces are the infinite potentiality of the wand. The creativity, the passion, anything that lights a fire in your soul. And because you're regretting, a small part of you is regretting what you did, what you moved away from, what you let finish. You're starting now to think about bringing it back. The resurrection of the thing. Because you're in charge of your shit now, like you know what you're doing, you've changed. And the reasons that you let it go before don't necessarily apply as much as they did. So you've got the Ace and you're like, yes, I can do this again, but I can do it better. I can start again, but with the new improved me, and then everything will be fine. And then we wheel straight up to the Ten of Wands, which I think is, you know, is fire, and so is the Emperor. And the Emperor's like, but it was such fucking hard work to get to where we are now. That one ace, that new start, that new beginning, just shot exponentially up to the 10. 1 to 10. Because perhaps the passage of time that allowed that little feeling of regret to appear has also mitigated the extent of what you were suffering at the time that you let it go in the first place. The card of the Ten of Wands is a card of burden. It's a card of things being too hard. And nobody starts with a situation that says, this is too hard, I'm going to do it anyway. Like, it's like, that's a weird reaction to have. People look at a situation and go, sorry, I can do that. And then they add a bit more to the burden, and a bit more to the burden, and a bit more to the burden, and before you know it, like a frog in, you know, water that's slowly heated up rather than, you know, just thrown into boiling jug. What started off with one, and what started off as a good idea, very rapidly became too much for you to handle, and you had to let it go. You had to let it stop. The 10 is the completion. The 10 is the end. And at that point, you let everything go. It was too much. And this is what the Emperor is trying to remind you of. And it seems like the memory of it has been dulled with time. And the final card that you've got here is the Nine of Pentacles. That's your energy, like I said. The Nine of Pentacles is a card of independence. Financial independence, certainly, but more than that, it's a stability that's been created by one, for one. In the original Rider Waite, it's depicted as a woman with vines and stuff behind her, and it actually came out in the last reading that I did for Sagittarius. And I recall some fact about you not being able to harvest grapes from vines straight off planting them. They need to be left for a couple of years before they can start producing fruit. And that was the Taurus video, sorry. That was kind of the point, was that whatever it took for you to reach the Nine of Pentacles state, it took a while to plant, it took a while to grow, it took a while to establish, it took a while to construct. It took a while to reach the level of maturity that you needed for it to start paying back to you. And that's where you are here. It's indicating that you've got a level of comfort now, material potentially, but certainly emotional. You've done a lot of work on yourself, and you're in a really, really good place. Are you wanting to upset the apple cart? And I know this must be a difficult situation for you, because Virgos don't like making choices with things. They like to have the option of making a choice should they so wish, but actually when it comes down to it, they kind of get choice anxiety, and they're just, it's too much because they have to weigh everything up. And I think this is the state that your brain is in at the moment. It's just weighing frantically the pros and cons of doing all of these things. But this card says that you're sitting pretty right now. You can do better, because it's not a 10, it's a 9. But you're doing really well. And you had to leave behind things to get to where you are. Six of Swords. You had to leave the situation behind to make things better for you. I've got this little Two of Cups here. Yeah. You left behind a relationship. I'm going to pull another card, because from there I can't quite see whether you left behind a relationship or you're going towards a new relationship, which obviously would counsel you to not go backwards. There's another card. Oh, we got two. Not sure they really answered my question, but they certainly add to the reading. So we've got the Nine of Wands. We've got Temperance. So that's two nines we've got there now, the Nine of Pentacles and the Nine of Wands. So both almost completion, but not quite there. The Nine of Wands says that you had to battle really hard to get where you are. It goes with the Six here. That was hard. Everything that you had to do was hard to get to this point that you're at now, this Nine of Pentacles. And don't be lured into a false sense of security by the fact that the edges of your memory have become blurred over time, because that's what happens. You know, everything when you remember something, you're only remembering the last time you remembered it. That's why we lose detail, you know, and there's no shame in that. But be objective about it. And like the other clarifier is temperance. So you've healed, you've done so much work. You know, temperance is 14. It comes together to make 5. 5 is about change and about conflict, and you've come past that. You came out of that. You got over that to arrive here and here. What seems to be very evident from the cards that have appeared is that what I'm explaining to you here is how the inside of your brain is working right now. Like, I'm not actually telling you anything that you don't already know, because you're a Libra, a Virgo, and you like to you like to weigh everything up. So the reason that I'm not getting a definitive answer on this Two of Cups is because these are the 2 cards that I've just pulled after it, right? So relationship, not relationship, because that's the 9 of Pentacles right there, right? Fucking different deck, same card. This is about juggling, weaving, trying to find balance. And it's sat right between the card of single, independent, strong earth energy, you, and a 9, so really high up there in the numerological stakes, and a 2 of Cups, which is, you know, the only way you go lower than that is the Ace, and the Ace is divine. So, you know, arguably more exalted as a card, you know, worth more as a card than this 2 of Cups. You know, that's the very start, it's the very beginning, and it could change, it could turn into something more substantial. But this is more substantial already. And the reason why I'm smiling is because you literally see this chap here. He's just like, the balls. He's wheeling from one thing to another. He's trying to keep both balls up in the air. You can't support both ideas. One needs to be sacrificed to keep the other. And only you can decide which one that is, but the cards are giving a fairly, let's say, fairly straightforward. They're actually reflecting the thought processes that I assume that are going on in your head at the moment. So the choice is yours, obviously. Never abdicate your personal power to a reader. But you do seem to be having trouble making that decision. Which is not unusual for Virgo. Just saying, my sister's a Virgo, so, you know, okay. Anyway, so we're going to try and pull some advice cards and see if we can gently guide you towards something useful. I've had 2 cards flip over. It's the Hanged Man and the 9 of Cups. I'm just going to mention them because they flipped, but they didn't jump, so I'm going to take them out. So we've got 2 cards, which is what I was after. the Knight of Cups and the Seven of Swords. The Knight of Cups is a love offer. Yeah, he's on his dashing knight on his white horse with his big old cup of love up in front of him, trotting along to go and find his lady love and deliver his proposal to her. But we have the Seven of Swords here, and there's a couple of different interpretations for the Seven of Swords. Some people call it the thief card because this chap, he's stealing swords from a camp, and it looks like actually it always looks like a circus to me, rather than, you know, an actual, you know, war camp of some description. But he's taking the swords. I very rarely read it that way. I mean, so it means deceit and treachery and trickery and betrayal as well. But I think I quite often read it to mean a risk. You know, we don't know his motivations for taking these swords from this camp. They may be entirely noble. He may be trying to prevent a really terrible situation occurring, and he's taking the weapons away because he wants to resolve the matter peacefully. And who couldn't get behind that as an idea? Like, do you see? Its context is important. But there's very little in the card to indicate either way what his motivations are. So it's very difficult to make that judgment. But I feel in here that this is a card of risk. So a love offer is a risk. I'll get one more card because I've kind of got a vague feeling that I know what cards. Another card for Virgo. Please. Card for Virgo. Yeah, so we've got Hangman. Right? And just like every other fucking set of cards that I pulled here, it's like, oh, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. So you've got your offer of love. Oh, but it's risky. Maybe I should do nothing. You know, the Hangman is all about, this is just the most passive card in the deck. There's literally no activity with the Hangman because that's the very point of him. It's the very point of him. He does not move. He does not act. Hangs upside down from a tree for 9 days to achieve new perspective and wisdom. You know, and choosing to do nothing is an action in itself. You should remember that. I think it's almost entirely impossible to be truly passive. So what the cards are saying here is that for the month of July, you're going to spend quite a lot of time wheeling around in your own head, coming up with one thing and then offsetting it with something else. You know, have to just fill in the blanks, you know, where you can. I mean, I should just say that this may not even be resurrecting a specific relationship. It could quite possibly indicate just the possibility of resurrecting you being in a relationship. So you've been single for quite a long time. Yeah, okay, yeah, so yes, yeah, this is correct. It's it's not about getting into a relationship with a particular person. It's about getting into a relationship at all. Like, yeah. you've been single for quite a long time. And either you've met someone that's made you reconsider the possibility of your singlehood, or you're just kind of a bit bored of being single now and you feel like maybe you are ready to start being in a partnership. I'm sorry to say that you're gonna wheel between the possibilities all July, so far as I can tell. I'm gonna try and pull an outcome card. Just one outcome card. Let's see where we go with this. Let's get a flipper, keys, and an outcome for Virgo. Outcome. Hello, that's the one. Okay. So it's the Queen of Swords. As an outcome, I mean, she's a pretty clear message. The Queen of Swords doesn't operate from a position of emotion at all. In fact, the very point of the Queen of Swords is that she excises any kind of emotional influence on her decision making. She's entirely rational. She's entirely logical and very clinical in her approach to situations, and that's why she's a great person to have on the side when you need that kind of input. You know, got some issue that you need to think about clearly. Sometimes emotions can fog the issue. The outcome for July is the Queen of Swords, so I feel like possibly going to adopt more of a hanged man mentality for the month of July, before deciding that actually it's too much like hard work. Like, the Queen of Swords is not someone that you want in a love reading at all, because she does not operate from that base. I think it's too hard for you just now, and maybe the person that you met isn't quite right. I don't know. If this has resonated with you at all, I'd really love to hear about it underneath in the comments. If you're not comfortable with discussing it, then, you know, that's cool too. Just pop me a like to indicate that I hit the mark somewhere with it. Yeah, okay, hope it helped. See you next month.